Dane, welcome to the Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Pete. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and before we hopped on, we found we have some deep-rooted Ottawa Valley
Oh my
connections.
gosh. And you get how ridiculously rare, like most people, I live in the US now, and to get someone to notice a province, let alone a city, let alone a
Exactly.
county, let alone a town, and we know the same general store. I mean, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous, ridiculous. I think
I
we
was
must
just
we must
saying,
be related. I'm sure we're related. We just don't
yeah.
know it.
I was just saying, I've snowmobiled across Clayton Lake.
Incredible, incredible.
Yeah, it's so cool when we get a chance to meet and have a couple of words outside of sort of normal business, how things connect, and it's great to be here with you and have you here on Simplifying
Yeah,
Entrepreneurship.
so appreciate it. And by the way, Pete,
Yeah,
I not just
yeah,
appreciate you in this moment and Clayton, but I appreciate what you're doing. There's just so many folks who I just so wish I had resources like this in my ears, uh, especially early on, but like even like all the time. There's just we need encouragement, we need good voices, we need insight into how to navigate the complexity of business. It is for you to generously invite simplicity and clarity to that environment. Man, you're giving a gift to so many. So thanks for what you do.
thank you, and that those are very kind words, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And what sparked the conversation was when we were on a webinar together not too long ago at a conference, and you came up with this. I'm sure you've had it for a while, but you sort of brought out this concept around up until now and from now on, and
Yeah,
how we look and use those phrases within our leadership and our businesses, and want to explore a little bit about that.
yeah, yeah. I found both whether thinking about life through the lens of me just as an individual person, or whether I'm leading a collective group of people, a team of some sort. It could be anything from a
Yeah.
family to a big organization. Inevitably, challenge comes your way, and we are we're victim to life and circumstance. I mean, the entire planet was interrupted with COVID a couple of years
For
back,
sure.
obviously, and when those circumstances happen, when our complaints show up, when things just are not going our way, it's really easy to get caught in the drift of life. There's one poet who called it the whirlwind of being human. And when we're stuck in that whirlwind and we're going down in a direction that we don't want to go, and we're kind of hooked into it, like we've bought into the narrative that, uh, man, this is everything's wrong, bad, and broken. Um,
Yeah.
how do we both hold the truth of our experience on the one hand, but also get unhooked from this nasty kind of spiral that's taking us to the pit of hell?
Yeah.
and I'm trying to paint a vivid picture because I want your listeners
Yeah,
to
you're painting it.
I want your listeners to like really get into a moment. And I hope folks are actually tuning into an experience they've had recently. Maybe they're in the middle of it right now,
Yeah,
and they're
right.
interested in finding a way to be honest with themselves, but also hopeful. And if that's you, friend, and you're listening, I'm going to give you two little phrases that might just transform your life. And these
Sweet.
were gifts to me. I didn't invent these. First time I heard it was from a guy named Dan Tacchini, and I'm confident Dan stole it from somebody else. But the point is simply, whenever you have a complaint and you're stuck, and you're really like think a complaint about your partner or your kids or a client or a coworker, and you're just convinced life is wrong. Just say life is wrong up until now. Life is wrong, whatever life is, up until now. And the reason you want to do that is you want to draw a line in the sand. You want to give yourself the freedom to be existentially honest and draw the line, but don't stop there. In drawing the line, you then have a second phrase that you get to start a sentence and finish it. And the second sentence is from now on. So all of the things that were going wrong in your life might be so up until now, but from now on, who knows? Who knows what could open up?
Yeah.
And just that mental and linguistic trick of interrupting state, of changing the channel, of opening up a new lane to go. What it does is it on a physiological level, It's the same as like a kid who's like, picture a 3-year-old in a grocery store, going nuts, just losing everything. And a good parent tries to talk to the kid. A great parent just picks the kid up and takes him to another aisle. Because when the kid gets to the other aisle, they just relax. They change their state.
Yeah.
And in a sense, that's what we're talking about. You have to interrupt state. And up until now, from now on, has a potency. And if you don't believe me, if you're listening right now, I dare you to just say to yourself, mumble it under your breath. No one's listening. You're listening to us. We're not listening to you. Uh, so you have a complaint about X up until now. From now
Yeah.
on, what could be true? What could be as true or more true? And as you do that, you will see a new reality.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I love the visual. I'm a visual kind of person
Mm.
as well. And I love that visual of drawing the line in the sand. And I can see sort of on the left hand side, this is where what we were. And on the right hand side, this is where we're going. And I think that's the beauty of this when we can start thinking about the idea of a better future,
Mm. Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And the past is the past, the present is now. What are we going to do about it in the future? And whether from our lives as a leadership perspective, whether that's our business or our family or, the relationships that we have, or health or wealth, all of those buckets of life, as I call them, what are we doing? What have we done? Doesn't matter nearly as much as when we're drawing this line in the sand and we're saying, what are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
My a mentor to so many, and I'm one of them, is Seth Godin. And Seth likes to encourage people to always ignore sunk costs. Ignore sunk costs. And there's a kind of a
Yeah,
business connotation for that, but there's also a relational connotation. And if you
for
have a
sure.
sunk cost, and by the way, the complaint can be not just about others or your circumstances, the complaint can be about you. Maybe you've wronged somebody. Maybe you
Yeah.
are in a bad rut. And that's might be true up until now. But from now on, what could be as true or more true? It's amazing what can open up. But and if you
Yeah.
don't mind, I'll indulge me. I want to go one more step.
Yeah.
What if it isn't just someone else, and what if it isn't just you, but what if it's a collective? What if it's a group of people? Like, let's say you're leading a team or a family, and it's just like we've been leading the charge, going headstrong into the wrong direction, and you
Yeah.
realize you painted yourself into a corner, and you got no way out, or it seems there's no way out. If you could just say there's no way out up until now, but from now on, if there is a way out, you're giving yourself a chance to see it. But you actually can't even see it the more that you rinse and repeat the same old narrative that got you in that corner in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great framework and a great way to look at that and sort of understand that the power of, one, two, three, four, five, 6 words,
Hmm. It's amazing.
the power of 6 words, right?
Can transform it all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Tell me a few other ways how you've used this phrase and how you've helped other people through and some of the changes that they've made with the use of this.
Oh man. We have seen individuals, like one of the immediate example that comes to mind are folks that, let's say they have individual like health challenges. They're severely
Right.
overweight, or they
Yeah.
have a bad habit with drinking or
Hmm.
smoking or spending, or whatever
Yeah.
their thing is, and they just feel so stuck. Like, this is just the way it is. And even that phrase, it's just the way it is, if you could say up until now, you open the door. Um, and I think those practical applications, I'm really stressed all the time, and I'm just always anxious, and I'm always lonely, and I'm always, well, up until now. And it's not
Yeah.
like it could keep extending if you wanted to, but if you want to shift it, you're giving yourself a chance that that could happen, just by the phrase. And as long as you pick up the second sentence, and then
Yeah.
on a team
It's
level,
kind of key.
it's kind of a big deal. Um,
Yeah.
on the team level, it's kind of amazing, to if you're leading a team and folks have a legitimate gripe, and you want to make sure that there's space, like you're not being Pollyanna and pretending everything's awesome when it's not.
Yeah. Right.
It's really helpful to say, look, we're going to start a timer, and we're going to run the clock for
Yeah.
2 minutes. And as much as you want to complain about everything, get it all on the table. Just barf your lungs out right now. Like,
Yep.
get it all there. As long as you're willing at the end of it as a collective for us to say up until now. And then when that
Yeah.
happens, you've had this kind of release, like it's like a muffler in a car. You kind of got all the smog out, and now you can turn a corner and go, okay, so now we're going to put air in the lungs instead of CO2. And with
Yeah.
that, what would that air, if there was air to find, where would it be? What would it be? And it actually triggers possibility and curiosity in a way that physiologically we're stuck in this other lane before, and we just have a new open highway. Sometimes people on a team will say, well, I don't know from now on. From now on, I don't know. If that's the case, I got a little bonus for your listeners, and that's and this I do this all the time with my kids. They'll say, I'll ask them a question, they say don't know, and I'll say, well, if you did know, what would you know?
Yeah.
And they kind of look at me sideways for a second, but almost every time they say, I just said, Dad, I don't know. And I said, I know, but if you did know, what would you know? But oftentimes I don't even have to say it a second time. And they almost
Yeah.
always have an answer, which tells me there's an answer to be had. There is a from now on. There
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
possibility. But oftentimes it's just easier to cut it off as opposed to do a little heavy lifting. And it's so little heavy lifting to get creative. So little.
Love that. I love that answer and that question, because how many times, for our listeners out there leading businesses, have people come to you asking questions, and that with that simple sort of retort, they can, and then what happens is they don't ask you the questions anymore because they already know they can find the answers, right?
Well, it's pretty thrilling if they get that far. It, it doesn't always happen that way, but I guess I so respect people who are willing to go that extra couple inches that most people
Yeah.
won't normally go.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Tell us a little bit about proactive mental health and all the stuff that you do with your business. Tell me your dreams, Dane.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be brief on this, but you know how people are at work and they're thinking about getting another job, or um, they're just not bringing their all. They're a little discouraged, especially if they're working from home. They feel a little lonely in their job. Um, Tell Me Your Dreams helps organizational people, like team members, employees, love their job, and we do that through a couple key initiatives. Most owners of companies, they want to, of course, have a great healthy bottom line, but they also, if
Yeah,
they're honest, they want to build a great company where not only people are thriving, but so is the bottom line. And we have found that
for
the
sure.
reason people don't build great companies and they settle for making money or trying to make money is they don't know how. And we have found that there's three ingredients. It's fostering the individual, helping the individuals on your team thrive, because when they thrive, they'll move forward. Second, helping your teams be highly productive and engaged. Um, and then third, really tap into people's dreams. And that might sound kind of odd or altruistic even, but it turns out it's highly strategic. What happens is most owners, they'll say things like, I just want my employees to care about the business as much as I do, which is such an unfair statement because they're not owners,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what we try to suggest is, well, why don't you, if you want your people to care about your dreams, maybe you should care about theirs. And when
Yeah,
the employee begins to internalize deeply that you care as much about them as you want them to care about you, they transform. They discover a motivation and a drive they didn't know they had access to. And we have some mechanisms to do that that are pretty effective. And it's been a thrill to actually watch the light bulb turn on for people and have them get after it and really help their team, but really help themselves create meaning at work, and ultimately help people not just kind of thrive at work, but really, or not just survive at work, but really thrive.
yeah, love that. And I mean, such an important piece. And through, I mean, on my podcast, and I've talked a lot about our 4 Ps that we briefly went through, but that big one that is such a problem all the time is your people, right?
Mm.
And it's the one that keeps owners up at night worrying about what's going to transpire here and what's going to happen and are they going to stay and who are we going to hire
Yep.
and all the things around your people. And when you have a system in place like the one you're talking about, boy, do things get better and alleviate so much stress from the entire
Yeah.
organization that it allows them to go ahead and propel and gain momentum,
That's
right?
right. That's right. And honestly, like what are we working for anyways? Like even
Yeah.
if we're not trying to create a world where uh, individuals and groups flourish, what are we doing? Even if we had all the money in the
Yeah.
world, what would we spend it on if
Yeah.
we had it? I think we'd probably
Yeah.
spend it on
What's
these
the
things.
legacy,
Right.
right?
Exactly. So it's a thrill to be a part of this work. It's a total honor. And you mentioned the proactive mental health thing. The way we do it is we offer it in seminars and workshops, individual work. Um, the coaches that we hire are actually certified therapists, and we train them our coaching modality. So as people inevitably get under the hood of their lives and increase their self-awareness, we try to do that very responsibly. And it really fosters this super investment. We kind of Trojan horse mental health into the conversation without calling it therapy. Uh, but it's
Yeah.
really not therapy. It's just therapeutically generous. And it gives
Nice.
people space to be real, but also get after it.
Yeah, that's great, Dane. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your words of wisdom here today. There's 6 great words, and I want you to repeat them again for all of our listeners,
Mm.
because when they get off this podcast, we want them to go ahead and think about one thing
Mhm.
that they can use these 6 words on.
Yeah. If nothing else, at the end of every complaint, add the simple 3 words up until now, and then follow it up with the next 3 words from now on, and finish the sentence. You finish that sentence, you might just reset the entire trajectory of your day.
Man, I love that. I love that. Thanks so much for spending some time with me here on the Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast, Dane. Love to have you back sometime down the
That'd be
road.
a pleasure. Thanks, Pete. Thanks for all you do.
Okay.